Despite not really enjoying HLL Vietnam during the playtest, now that the full game is out, I'm actually having a pretty good time with it. I've got a couple hundred hours in the original HLL, and after the playtest, I wasn't really planning on buying Vietnam. The performance wasn't great, I didn't enjoy the maps that much, and a lot of matches felt just bad. But right before release, I saw there was still a discount and I thought I might as well give it another chance. The original HLL also took years of updates to become what it is today. So even if I only played Vietnam for 10 or 20 hours and then came back every now and then, I felt like I would probably get enough value out of it. Well, to my surprise, I'm enjoying the full release much more than I expected. I still haven't played enough to pretend this is some final opinion on absolutely everything, but I have tried basically every part of the game at this point. I have played Commander, Squad Leader, Recon, Tanks, Helicopters, and pretty much all of the normal infantry roles. And in this video, I'm gonna briefly talk about the game and whether should you actually buy the game or not. If you have never played HLL before, the easiest way I can describe it is somewhere between Battlefields and a military simulator. It is a 50 versus 50 tactical shooter where you die quickly, teamwork matters, and getting kills is only one small part of actually winning. You capture objectives, build garrisons and outposts, move supplies, communicate with your squad, and basically try to control the map. Vietnam, just like the original game, keeps almost all of that. The maps and weapons are different, movement has been improved, and you have major new mechanics like helicopters and NVA tunnel networks. But underneath everything, it is still HLL. Personally, right now, I would call it an okay to good HLL game. I'm not saying it is amazing right now, but I also think it's not that bad. If you basically want more HLL in a different setting, you'll probably find something to enjoy. If you expected some completely different sequel that changes everything, this probably isn't that. So, does the game actually feel like Vietnam? Well, this is where my opinion gets more complicated. The game works fine as another HLL title, but I'm not completely convinced that it makes enough use of the Vietnam setting yet. I'm not saying that like I'm some Vietnam War historian, I'm just talking about what I personally expect from a Vietnam game. You think about tunnels, ambushes, helicopters, jungle warfare, traps, and two-sided fighting in very different ways. Vietnam has some of that. The Americans have helicopters, the NVA have tunnels, and the jungle completely changes how you fight. But both factions still need to fit inside the HLL formula. And because this is a multiplayer game, both teams obviously need a fair chance of winning. Because of that, sometimes it gives me more of a general Cold War HLL feeling rather than feeling completely built around Vietnam. I'm not saying making the factions much more asymmetrical would automatically make the game better. Maybe that sounds really cool and realistic on paper and then becomes completely frustrating because of balance. I don't really know. Helicopters and tunnels are a good start. I just like to see more of that. One of the biggest reasons I didn't enjoy the playtest was the map. The ones that were in the playtest, the ones I played in the playtest, they just didn't click with me. And playing similar map repeatedly made the game feel boring pretty quickly. The full release feels much better simply there is more variety. There are 6 launch maps and you're not constantly playing the exact same map. You have different game modes. You still have warfare, which is the normal HLL tug of war. Then you have offensive, where one side attacks, one side defends. I actually enjoy offensive more in Vietnam than I did in the original game. You have tunnels, helicopters, commander abilities, and simply more ways someone to just suddenly appear somewhere unexpected. I also really like the domination game mode. Overall, the whole battlefield feels more mobile, more positional, and less predictable. After a couple hundred hours, the original HLL became fairly predictable to me. You normally knew what roughly where the front line was, where the enemies was. Vietnam feels more like constantly trying to figure out where the front line even is. People can move through a thick jungle without you noticing them. And that unpredictability is probably one of the biggest things I currently prefer over the original. The sound also contributes to that chaos. You got helicopters flying overhead, tanks, gunfire, explosions, the ambient noises, voice chat, and everything happening at the same time. I have heard people complain that the directional audio can be difficult to read, and I can understand where they're coming from. I don't think the sound is that bad. I think they were clearly going for something more chaotic and immersive. But I do think they could improve the clarity a little bit so it is easier to understand what direction certain sounds are actually coming from. So the gunplay itself feels alright to me. Hitting people feels satisfying, the hit feedback feels good, and automatic rifles are extremely effective. The Americans have weapons like M16, while the NVA Vietnam have things like the AK Type 56. A short burst can kill somebody extremely quickly, and these rifles are very good at suppressing people or firing through vegetation. My problem is more with the variety of weapons. It feels like I'm constantly using an M16 or an AK style rifle. In the original Halatos, depending on the faction and the class, you could go from a bolt-action rifle to an SMG, machine gun, semi-auto rifle, and it could completely change how we played. Vietnam does have other weapons obviously, but the main rifles are so common and effective that after a while I started wanting something different. I would definitely like more weapons added over time, maybe more weapon customization. Ammo is also much more important than it was in the original game. I have actually run out of ammunition multiple times here, whereas in the first game I would normally die before that became a problem, and I understand why. If everyone had a ridiculous amount of ammo, the entire jungle would become people spraying every bush they see. Limited ammunition makes you control your shots and actually care about ammo boxes. But then we get into the progression system, and this is one part I really don't like. Vietnam has a new equipment and weight system where your available gear and loadout options expand as you progress through roles. The problem for me is that new players start with fewer options. As you level up, you can build much better loadouts with much more ammo and better combinations of equipment. And I don't think beginners should be penalized simply because they're beginners. I like the idea of customizing your equipment based on need. I just think more of those choices should be available much earlier. Progression should give me interesting alternatives, not make me feel like I'm leveling up, so mainly so I can finally carry a reasonable amount of ammunition or combine equipment that I actually want to use. And this connects to another criticism I have. Content-wise, the launch version feels little thin. I would like more weapon variety, more armor, more tank options, more vehicles, maybe armor to transport like health tracks, or other equipment from the period. There is enough here to play and enjoy obviously, but it doesn't feel like an enormous amount of content for a completely new standalone game. Helicopters are probably my favorite new mechanic in this game. They're super fun to use. During the playtest, I didn't really enjoy how they controlled, and they made it so much better. Like they took the criticism, the player feedback, and they made helicopters actually fun, maneuverable, just overall better. So Americans have the helicopters, the NVA has the tunnel networks, and gameplay wise, tunnels are probably more overpowered than the helicopters. A good tunnel network can completely change where the attack is coming from, how quickly the NVA is able to maneuver. It's just really good, okay? I have played some tanks, and personally, I don't enjoy tanks. I'm not a huge tank player. Tanks are definitely important for the team because somebody needs to deal with enemy tanks and the boats. I just don't personally find tank gameplay particularly exciting right now. Next, we have the mortars. So, mortars are bad. I actually couldn't even experience mortar squad because no one wants to be a mortar. And also it is really hard to, justify using a mortar. So the mortar unit has dedicated observer, support, and gunner roles. So it is designed around multiple players working together rather than one person doing everything. In the original game, you could be solo, which meant like a singular person using the artillery was enough. You didn't have two squads of artillery where someone reloads and someone shoots, one marks the enemies. Nah, just a singular dude is able to accomplish artillery role pretty good. But in this game, mortar squad, as a mortar squad leader, you are not able to place a mortar. You need another person to place it. And remember, you only have 50 players. You already need infantry squads, recon, tank crews, helicopter players, and the commander. Now you're asking another group of players to separate themselves from the front line. Instead of actually shooting at the enemy, they're going to be a mortar squad. Right now, it's already bad that, we have so many players who want to grab a helicopter and absolutely do nothing. We have too many helicopter pilots. You just need 1 or 2 pilots, no more than that. So another edition of mortar squads where you need 2 players just for 1 mortar. It just feels not as smart. Because commander abilities can already do what mortar can do, just better, more bigger area. If they want mortars to become more common, I think making them easier to operate effectively with just a singular person could make it work, but yeah. Okay, now we're going into more important stuff. Teamwork. This is the most important thing to understand before buying Hell Let Loose. Your enjoyment depends a lot on your team. And I think that was another reason the playtest gave me such a bad impression. People weren't building outposts, they weren't building garrisons, they didn't understand supplies, everyone was just running forever, constantly dying and having a bad time. Now that the game released, I was like, why am I bothering? I should just be a commander or a squad leader and decide how this match will happen. And immediately I started enjoying the game more. And the thing is that being a squad leader or commander is not scary as people make it sound. All you do is you build stuff like spawn points and mark stuff on the map and communicate really basic stuff like, hey, there's a tank or there's a boat. You do not micromanage your entire team, telling them to, Able and Bravo squad, you're gonna be on attack, Charlie and Delta, you gotta be on the defense, okay? No, you don't do that. Obviously, communication is really important nonetheless. That's one of the other important thing. You need to be able to communicate in this game. Like being able to ask commander for an ability like, hey, commander, can I get a supply truck on bottom HQ? You need to have a voice chat to be able to do that. Or simple things that you want from your squad. Hey, squad, can I get a supply on my outpost so we can get a garrison? You need to be able to have a voice chat to do that because no one reads the text chat and text chat is too slow. And I'm gonna say something. Please make sure your microphone sounds at least decent. You do not need some expensive podcast microphone. A normal headset is fine. Just make sure people can actually understand you. I have heard people with constant static coming from their microphone, people accidentally leaving their microphones open, eating with the microphone on, all that sort of stuff. And do not constantly talk in a voice chat, okay? Every now and then, I encounter matches where the commander is non-stop talking or a squad leader. You gotta keep the things minimum, okay? You gotta talk less. So when you begin the game, there's a tutorial system where the tutorial basically teaches everything you need to know about the game. And it takes just 1 hour. So you just need to pay attention for 1 hour of tutorial and be able to do pretty much everything the game asks you to. Still then, I encountered quite a lot of people who don't know exactly what they're doing. It's not like I'm gonna be yelling at people not knowing anything. But this is one of those games where you gotta put in the minimum effort to learn about certain stuff so you can enjoy the game. You cannot really go in and start shooting at the enemy. No, you gotta know about a couple of mechanics and whatnot. In the playtest, performance was pretty bad. Now that the full game released, they made it a bit better. I'm not gonna say like it's 2 or 3 times better, just a tiny bit better. The problem is that when you reduce the resolution and the settings, the game looks bad. So you want to keep the settings where it's like medium to high settings, and in that case, you have to use upscaling options to be able to have playable FPS. Knowing that a lot of people have rather old gaming PCs because of how expensive computer parts have become, and this game utilizing really expensive stuff from Unreal Engine 5, a lot of the players have the problem of bad FPS and performance issues. This is one of the area that the developers have to take the time in and ensure that 10 years old cards are able to be able to enjoy this game, because really, the gaming is already becoming more expensive. How games are becoming more expensive, computer parts are becoming more difficult to get because of all the AI crazy stuff happening. And knowing from the first game, they will make the optimization better, because I remember when the first game released, the optimization was really bad, and over time they made it where it's today. The Halotlu's first game is pretty optimized. Another thing is the graphics. Halotlu's Vietnam can look good, but also in some parts of the map and in some lighting condition, it can rather look kind of bad. It has those little things that with Unreal Engine 5, where certain things appear low resolution, like the lighting and the shadow. Those stuff needs some improvement. Visibility can also be difficult in this game. Well, it's already, most of the time you cannot spot enemies because they're standing. You spot them because they're on the move. If someone wearing camouflage is lying completely still inside of bush, obviously they should be difficult to see. That part makes sense. The problem is when dense foliage, upscaling, and a soft image all combined together, it just becomes really difficult to spot things because the game doesn't look exactly super clear and sharp. One more thing that I can say bad about the game is there's quite a bit of bugs. I don't want to go like really in depth about what bugs I have encountered, but let me tell you that the game, with its performance, graphics, and the bugs, it doesn't feel a polished game. And with the content it has, it feels more like a version 0.5 rather than version 1.0. I don't know if this video is becoming too long, so I'm gonna talk about the rest of the stuff I want rather quickly. I don't like the server browser. There's no quick join button. I don't like it. Crossplay can be bad sometimes. I heard that aim assist was rather strong and console players are able to aim at you through bushes without ever seeing him. I do believe that Halotlu's is best played with keyboard and mouse, but crossplay is good. You should be able to play with your friends on console. Okay, so should you actually buy Halotlu's Vietnam? First, I gotta mention something really important that I haven't told you in this video. I only paid $10 for this game. Yeah, the game is $40, but thanks to regional pricing, I was able to get it for only $10. Because of that, my expectations were lower, and I'm judging the game for the amount of price I paid for it. If I were to pay $40 for this game, my review, the way I talk about this game would be a lot more negative, because this game for $40, it's not ready. It is bad. If it was $20, I would be good. And $10 is a steal. It's a pretty good game for $10. And that's a lot of what other people say, where they say like, hey, if this game goes on a 50% discount a year later, I might get in. But at the current stage, with the full price and how little content there is, I cannot, judge anyone for disliking or being negative for the game. It's a real shame how they, released the game right now when they should have been cooking it for a little bit longer. Still, despite everything, I managed to enjoy the game. One part of the reason why I enjoyed it is that I already like Halotlu's. Another reason is that I'm doing pretty good. I'm playing pretty well in this game. I'm having above 5k a day. I enjoy playing as a commander and absolutely winning the matches thanks to my huge brain. Like, obviously, if you're constantly dying and losing every single match, you're not gonna have much fun. In that part, I'm gonna say is that Halotlu's isn't a game where it's not only about how good your aim is. It's about the knowledge. It's about where you should build garrisons, where the tunnels should go, know when to attack or defend, how your role, what your role is, and do your role. Right now, I'm constantly seeing squad leaders who don't build garrisons or tunnels and wonder why their team is struggling. This game is about map control. You need to actually use the systems the game gives you, and that is why I think the tutorial is really important. This is a game where you need to sit and learn a bit before you can actually enjoy the game. Like, you don't need thousands of hours of gameplay to understand the game. The things are really simple, and I bet everyone can understand everything this game has to offer in just a couple of hours. So to reach that stage, you gotta experiment with stuff. You gotta ask questions. You have to watch videos, and like if you haven't played the tutorial, you have to play the tutorial again. Also, I have been thinking about making maybe I'm making a video about me giving tips to you about how to become better at How Let Loose Vietnam. Like, I'm not pretending I'm some advanced competitive player, but there are a lot of simple mistakes that can be fixed really easily. Now, overall, I do think this game released too early. It needs more optimization, it needs bug fixes, more content. There's some parts of the game that needs some rework, but I also think 1 or 2 years of updates could make a massive difference. I'm just hopeful, okay? I'm not gonna go really harsh on the developers. I'm willing to trust where they will take the game. And knowing that they did take the criticism, they do take the feedback, and they're willing to change stuff, I'm just hopeful. I don't expect this game to become Call of Duty level mainstream because this simply isn't that kind of game. How Let Loose is for different type of player. But right now, I cannot strongly say that I love this game. It's too early for that. But I don't dislike it either, just even though I hated it in the playtest. I'm enjoying the game, and the foundation is decent. A year or two the game is gonna be significantly better. So if I had to describe it right now, How Let Loose Vietnam is an okay to good How Let Loose game that still feels like a little like a early access but has a solid foundation. I'm glad I gave the full release another chance. Also, should you buy the game or not? I don't know. I mean, if you enjoyed the first game, you can buy this game. If you haven't played the first game, you might wanna first play the first game. Look, if you think the $40 price tag for this game is too much, I definitely recommend you to wait, okay? I don't know, 30 or 50% discount, that's gonna happen 1 or 2 years later. But also, like, me talking about the game, watching the gameplay in the background made you think, oh, this game looks so cool, you can also get the game as well. Anyways, I think that's gonna be it for today. I want to hear what you have to say about the game. Make sure to leave a comment. I'll make sure to read all the comments and respond to them. Also, if you left a like and subscribe, that would be really amazing as well. And see you guys later.